throwing back and forth. Webb has to catch that wheel. How much does he have left in the tank? His heart rate is definitely going up, but this guy can put down some watts. His watts per kilo is fabulous. We are coming into the close of this race. Justin Wagner sitting on the wheel of his rival now, Adam Webb, coming around, jumps on the wheel of Adam Boyko. They are starting to ramp it up, but Wagner goes 12.0 watts per kilo. Webb jumps on his tail here. We are seeing exciting stuff happening here as they come to the end here. Big finishes as they lock in here. We see this amazing view. Webb trying to catch on. He is closing the gap on Wagner. Wagner all out. Can he do it? Can he come up to this line? Webb on the tail. He's coming up. Wagner, it looks like he made, yes, and he passes him. Webb takes it from him at the end. Unreal. What an amazing finish. The king dethroned.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of What's Up with Power. My name is Justin Wagner with Team ODZ, and I will be your host. Give me a second here. Got some questions coming in the comments. And so, anyway, we are here. This show is all about teaching you the basics of power-based training so you can take your training to the next level. And I will be the presenter today. We're going to be talking about making an annual training plan and talking about kind of the ways you want to step through that, the thought process, and what you need to make that happen. If you have questions throughout the show, go ahead and utilize the comments. Good morning, Nat Landry. Good to have you on the feed. If you've got questions while we're presenting, go ahead and let them in either the Discord chat or in the Facebook chat. I will address them as they come up. We are just about 1 minute away from this start of today's ride, and excuse me, we'll get going there. I'll bring up the slides once we get to that point, and we will have our conversation about the annual base training plan. This awesome platform here allows us to ride together with our friends when it's cold outside or weather's not so great, and it works out really well for us, especially those in the northern hemisphere. Got 28 seconds to go. Let us know in the comments where you're from. Looks like in game we've got some people from Ottawa, Montreal. So the not a race. Let's see, stay 1.5 to 1.8 watts per kilogram. Okay, I've got that going. We're going to switch to where we can see the slides. Got the game going, got the slides. Good morning, Jörg, on the live stream. Let's get this thing rolling. So we're going to be talking all about making a annual training plan. First off, you haven't heard yet, we do have a new forum where we continue the conversation afterwards at discuss.endurancelab.fit. So if you haven't checked that out yet, go ahead and go on over there, register. We post slides to the presentations ahead of time. Also, people have more in-depth conversations and questions about the content that we can't really cover here on the show, or we run out of time. We take that to the forum. So if you haven't seen that yet, definitely check that out. And love to have you over there. So discuss.endurancelab.fit. We also use that as kind of a way to maybe announce other things in the community that are going on related to the show that don't make it quite onto the live stream, but we discuss them over there in the forum. Okay, so we're going to talk. Today's content is about building your own training plan. We're going to look at it here in this hierarchical format. We've got basically, we're starting with the base, which is picking some events to work towards. Then you build your structure around your events, and then you nail down the weekly specifics. Okay, that's kind of the approach we're taking here. 3 steps: picking events, picking a structure around those events, and then weekly specifics. And we'll talk about all of the tools you can use for this process, maybe some of the ups and downs of each of them, as well as an interesting new tool that helps this as well. I would maybe newer in the market. Okay, let's talk about first, what's step number 1? Picking events. Okay, well, you're gonna do your training, right? What are you training for? I guess this is the first question we got to answer. What are we training for? So we want to pick an event that we want to compete in. What is that? You know, it may be a race, it might be a fondo, it might be, hey, you know what? I'm doing a week-long touring gig where we're just going out and we are enjoying cycling. And it's not a race, not a competition, but we're just going to go a long ways, or whatever those events are. You got to pick them first, right? You probably have an idea. You probably already know what the ones are you want to compete or work on. So that's step 1. Step 2, get them on your calendar early. We all have families, constraints, you name it, and you know, we got to work with our calendar with the rest of our family and make sure we can plan and arrange other things around it. So this is crucial to striking the balance between hitting your hobby objectives or goals and still, you know, being connected. I'd say probably a fair majority of us are married, children, maybe not, but still, even maybe anyway, you need to plan these things with the bigger world. If we not all of us have the luxury of this being our only main consideration. There's lots of other things you have to coordinate with, work, school, what have you, right? So you got to plan these things in early. So your annual goal should tie into these events. A lot of times you'll notice that annual goals are based on the events, right? My goal is I want to go and compete in this event, right? I want to go to a bigger event, compete, go faster, do better. A lot of what we get from that. So, or they should be events that are building up to the goal, right? That's kind of, I think, what we're getting at here is that, okay. We've talked about events, how they tie to your annual goals you've got. And now what we're going to do is basically look at trying to build a structure around your events. Okay. How long is it till my first event? How much time do I have in between events? Okay. And we're going to be basically applying periodization in these gaps. So let's talk about this. Maybe the easiest way, if I were doing this, I would basically get out a piece of paper something where I can draw and basically have a mark on each week, right? We're going to make a mark where each of these events are, and we're going to start to analyze the number of weeks that are in between them. We're going to be looking at this from the week level. That's and so maybe you have 50 weeks for your training, we've got 30 going up, or whatever that is. We're going to look at this. The smallest notion of time we need for this training plan that we're looking at is a week, okay? So knowing how long till your first event is and knowing the time in between events allows you then to start saying, okay, I know that I should be doing, when I'm doing like a build or where I'm pushing myself to the next level, this is going to be essentially boiling down to 2 to 3 consecutively hard weeks that will be followed by an easier week. Okay, that's the concept of periodization. You're going to push yourself for a couple weeks and back off for a week, allowing that body to rest and recover, and then you go to the next the next phase, which is starting again, right? So that's the periodization. You go hard, easy, hard, easy. So that's basically where your body needs to push past its limits, then come back and recover a little bit. It's during that back off and recover where you actually are getting stronger. Body needs to repair itself, rebuild, right? Every time we do a workout, basically breaking down body's function. So this is what we're doing. We've got the big plan. We see where the events are. We're starting to plug in training to that. We're starting to say, okay, and basically at this point, all you really need to do is just mark the weeks: hard week, easy week, hard week, easy week. And so as you do this more often, you'll know how hard you can push yourself in between these stages. But so start with, say, 2 to 3 consecutively hard weeks at a max, followed by 1 easier week. And as you start to, we'll get a definition here of what we mean by hard week and easy week. You'll be able to quantify that. But this is where we need to start. Basically, we'll have each week's leading up marked as hard, hard, easy, hard, hard, easy, okay? Or hard, 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 easy. Now, okay, identifying hard weeks and easy weeks. Now here's something that's interesting, and there's actually a very new tool on the market to help with this. Is, obviously our lives are dynamic. Our constraints, vacations, injuries, whatever, we don't know them all when we start our training. And so this annual plan actually becomes very dynamic, that you could essentially be reevaluating every week depending on what's going on in a week. So keep that in mind. Essentially, if we pick a target fitness or CTL, which we've talked about, if we pick a target CTL for a given week, then we'll know exactly how much work we need to do in all these leading up weeks to hit that point. That's a lot of these annual training plan tools will say, okay, what fitness do you want to get to? And maybe it's a fitness point you've been at this last year. You look back at your data and you say, okay, this is when I was most fit and I did the best. So I want to get there, and now let's add 5%, right? Let's push a little bit further this year. So that's kind of the back of the napkin planning you need to be doing. So, all right, we've identified hard weeks, we've identified easy weeks, and now becomes where you're actually going to start to assign total training stress score per week. Okay, here, type of message in the name. Okay. Yeah, 1.52. Okay, so we're talking about, so anytime we're starting to pick our weekly TSS, we need to understand something called ramp rate, okay? So we just talked about, I mentioned it, we've covered it in previous episodes, what CTL is, or chronic training load, okay? That's the measure of where your current fitness is at, looking at your power numbers, okay? And it's very hard on your body if you sustain a ramp rate of over 6, okay? Ramp rates of more than 6 generally, so that means in a week. If you increase your CTL, excuse me, I need to define this better. So if you increase your CTL more than 6 in a given week, not that it's unfeasible, but it's not recommended. And so if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of historical power data, you'll go above a ramp rate of 6 for sure. But I mean, if you've been cycling for a while and just start to have power numbers now, you most certainly will have a ramp rate over 6 at the beginning. But let's say you've had power data for at least 2 months, okay? Then you should be starting to see where this will hold true, that you don't want to have a ramp rate or an increase in CTL of more than 6. So basically, we would say, okay, a hard week, let's try to push our ramp rate up to somewhere between 4 to 6, okay? And we'll talk about what we do specifically, how we target that. But, and this may, and as you evolve over your annual plan, this number may change because the TSS you need for a given week in order to get you the ramp rate you want depends on what your current CTL is, okay? So wind that back. What does that mean? If you're going to push your fitness level up, you got to know what it is now so you know how to get to the next level, right? So so that will make a little bit more sense here. So look at the events your schedule for those weeks, match them to your overall goal. And then we're basically going to, okay, so now we're looking at weekly specific. So we know we want to hit a TSS. So the notion here is, I believe it is, well, here's the back of the, here's the calculation. If I have the current CTL of, let's say, 50, if I'm going to remain constant in my CTL, I need to do 7 times, so 7 days in a week, 7 times 50 gets me 350 TSS. So if I just do 350 TSS in a week, that would basically that would keep my fitness constant. I wouldn't gain, I wouldn't lose, but I could maintain at 350 TSS in a given week. Now I start to see, okay, so what happens if I do more than 350, I do enough TSS in 1 week, so I push my fitness up to 56, right? We hit the ramp rate of 6 for a week. Now we've got a CTL of 56. What does that mean? That means in that next week, you've got to do 56 times 7. So, crunch the math. What's 6 times 7 is 42 plus 350. So now we have to do 392 TSS in the next week to keep this fitness that we've now gained. So you see that it's not free, right? As you get stronger, you have to do more to maintain that. This is where, you know, we start to see why endurance sports take so much time, right? If you want to build more endurance, more fitness, you got to put in the time to keep that. Now, there is a trade-off here, and you know, obviously this doesn't just mean, well, we have to just put in crazy amounts of time. You can increase intensity without increasing time to get your TSS up. So it's a trade-off, and it depends how you structure each individual workout. But the overall thing is true that as we're building more fitness, we need to generate more TSS in a given week. Hold that. We know TSS is based on both intensity, time, so varying either one of those. Let's say you hold one constant and you increase the other, you should be able to increase your fitness in a week's time with that change, okay? So a lot of specifics here. So let's go back and revamp. So what we talked about CTL, what does that mean? CTL is approximately what your weekly TSS divided by 7 would be in a day. So this is backwards, right? We just looked at this. I said if CTL was 50, we would need to hit 7 times 50 to hit 350 in a week to stay constant. This is saying it backwards. It says that's how much TSS you need each day to not lose or gain CTL. So this is daily. So if we just say, look, my TTL is currently 70, I need to do approximately, on average, 70 TSS every day to remain constant. If I'm going to push that up, I need to do on average more than 70 per day. So CTL becomes a little bit more reasonable because now we can equate this directly to what we do in a given workout. We know what our CTL is, we can look at how much we do in a week. So, and I think I want to say the calculation for hard versus easy weeks would be to pretend as if you had 50 more CTL than you actually do and try to hit that. So let's say my CTL is currently 50 for a hard week. I would say, okay, add 50, make it 100. So then I need to do 700 TSS in a week to go up by 6. Now, Andy Jenner probably would correct me on this. He gave me that calculation, and I don't think I actually have it written down here. So I forget if it was 30 or 50 more is kind of the calculation. I need to write that down for reference. So you'll have to excuse me on that specific. The point is, we understand we need to do more in that week, okay? So then we start getting into what workouts should I add. We know that not all TSS is created equal. If I'm doing a bunch of zone 2 work to build my base and I get 300 TSS in a week from that, versus if I do three sprint workouts to get the same 300 TSS, I'm building completely different parts of my body. And you may get the same TSS number, but you definitely are building something different, okay? So having some experience yourself, or having maybe a coach or a base training plan to help with this to get going is a good idea. You can kind of a base training plan you look at and you go. So plug here for the endurance lab. This is actually what I use for my training, build my base training off of, and or the main structure, and I kind of build from there. So if you haven't seen the endurance lab, check it out. Good content there. If you have questions about it, happy to answer. Okay, so now here's the part we've kind of been hinting at. So okay, we sit down and we make this awesome annual plan, but then life happens, okay? Things come up. We all understand it. It happens. No way of getting around it. So what you need to kind of do is be able to adjust each week. Say, okay, what happened? What do I need to do this next week based on what happened the previous week? You kind of need to assess this as you keep going along. And so we're actually going to have a new presenter on the show. His name is Dennis. I'm probably going to butcher his last name, so I'm apologizing right now, Dennis. Actually, I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to point at it. Okay, I'll try it. Patro. And everyone can let me know if I pronounce that wrong. But He's the founder of this company called Burita. And what they have done is they have improved upon the annual training plan tool. You've probably seen what Training Peaks offers in this regard. And so they've made this annual training plan much more adaptive and real time. And you can go in quickly to their tools and say things like, you know what? Family vacation came up this week and I've tried to make it work, but I can't take my bike or whatever. I just need to take some time off. So you can say, look, we're going to squash that week. I'm not going to be able to do any training. And you've already plugged in what your target goals are, and it can, on the fly, readjust all of your weeks leading up to it and tell you, okay, you missed that 1 week, so here's what you need to do to make up for it. Okay, it'll either be, it may just spike it all, or you can spread it. There's lots of different cool options. But anyways, we're gonna actually have him starting in January. He's gonna start becoming a regular presenter on the show and give us a little bit of a feel for how that tool works. But obviously, if he's built a tool like that, he's got lots of great insight and knowledge on building training plans and power-based training. And so we're happy that he's gonna be on to help generate some more content and give you guys another perspective, another regular presenter. So in summary, building an annual training plan, right? We need to look at our, for a weekly training load, we target that based on total TSS in this plan. We have harder weeks, easier weeks. We're using periodization to push our CTL up. And we want to make sure we keep our ramp rate, so increase in CTL in a given week, at 6 or under. So a lot of times people will say, man, I've been trying this new training plan, I'm just completely exhausted, or it's just really not working out for me. So we look at their ramp rate, and maybe they've been pushing a ramp rate of over 6. So something to keep in mind. All right, so what's coming up next on the show? January 3rd, we're going to have Taylor Thomas on. He's going to talk about looking backwards on a season, okay? How do we do a season review? What nuggets do we have from our previous season? How do we morph those into goals for the next year, or give ourselves an assessment? All right, after that, on January 10th, we're going to have Nate Dunn from Data Driven Athlete. He's talking about how to make progress on the bike, and this spurs from a lot of times we get questions along, hey, I've hit a plateau. I've been trying, I've been doing this for so long or whatever, and I just seem to kind of be stuck in the same place. So Nate's got some great direction for us on how to make progress there. With that, we are to the question and answer session. We've got about 6 minutes left on the live stream. Apparently I'm very long-winded today. But if you have questions, let them fly. You can, if you send them in the game, it may be difficult for me to catch. But if you send them in Discord or on Facebook, I should definitely be able to get those, answer them. If you happen to be watching the replay and you have questions, want them answered, go ahead and jump on the forum at discuss.endurancelab.fit. Register there and put your question up on the What's Up with Power category. Or you can send us an email at WUWP@tmodz.com. We'll happily follow up with you and get you in touch with the right folks that'll be able to answer your specific question. Great question. Okay, can you repeat the first half again? I didn't hear the first half of your question. Okay, good question. So that's the difference in your CTL from 1 week to the next. So yeah, so TSS. So let's look at it this way. TSS is the number of how much you do in a week, okay? So if I do 500 TSS in a week, that's like how much work I did. That 500 amount of work for TSS will result in a change, either staying the same or backwards, of my CTL. My CTL is my current fitness. So what we're saying is, if, let's say my CTL is currently 50 at the beginning of the week, and let's say I do 1,000 TSS in the week, and because of that 1,000 TSS, my CTL moves up by 8. That's the number. So then at the end of the week, our CTL would then be 58. Because we did the work during the week, we did 1,000 TSS that week, it pushed us up to 58, okay? Does that make sense? Yeah, no problem. So that's the, that's what we're gonna look at. And actually, if you use Training Peaks, I believe on their dashboard, they show you ramp rates for 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, 365 days. So the one you're going to want to look at there and get a feel for is the 7-day ramp rate, okay? So that's, 6 is a good guideline. It doesn't mean that you can't go above it. It doesn't mean that absolutely everyone can hit 6, but that is, you'll get a feel for it, and just keep that number in the back of your mind. If you can start looking at those numbers and you see, wow, I feel like garbage, look at your ramp rate. If it's over 6, that's a clear and easy way to say, you know what, we just need to back down the volume a little bit, be a little bit more patient, so that, you know, it's going to take a little bit longer maybe to get to our desired end fitness level, but that's okay. Or, you know, maybe we're 5 short of our CTL goal for a race. You know, CTL is not the only thing. I'd say CTL is kind of like our base fitness endurance for a race. It certainly isn't strategy. So if we're a road racer, just having the highest CTL in the group may not translate into success. Being a triathlete, that may be a much more consistent link to success. Is it's just based on a lot on your endurance level for such long races as, say, like an Ironman. But then again, if you're competing in some of the triathlons that allow drafting and attacking, that may be a different scenario. You may need to work a little bit more on your punchy anaerobic stuff as well. Anyways, I digress, but I think the point there is this is one of the many pieces of the puzzle. Definitely not the solve all, end all, be all of everything, but definitely something we need to understand. So appreciate the questions. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the live stream. I want to thank you guys all for joining us. We're here every week, Wednesdays at 6:30 a.m. Pacific, 9:30 a.m. Eastern in the US. And I think I've got it written up somewhere where that is in UK time, but I'm not remembering off the top of my head. But it does happen in the UK as well, so that much is true. So, happy to have you on, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. We will finish out the group ride here in the Zwift, but for the live stream, say happy trails, and we will see you next time.